Previously on the Embracing the Journey podcast.
He was like, okay, a plane hit. We're like, what? A plane? I step with my right, and then my whole body would leap to that landing, and then I just did it again. So I was only taking 2 steps.
Of 16.
I end up step jumping down 46 flights of the World Trade Center on September 11th. It almost takes death to actually realize how alive we really are.
Wow.
I just kept praying that please keep the walls up. I mean, I would look up and say, please God, just keep the building up long enough for us to get out. That was my prayer.
Do you feel guilty for still being alive right now?
So he did end up saying again, oh, another plane hit. And when he did that, it was like fear just set in. It was silent in that. We were all there and it was silent. And we all were like, ooh. We knew it wasn't an accident when he had said that. But this was like around the 25th floor, around there.
Okay. So you said that there were malls at the bottom of the Twin Towers. Was that area dark as well and flooded?
For certain parts of it, the lights were out. People were all gone. A lot of the signs had fallen. So it was all because of the earthquake, or it felt like an earthquake. So there was water. I want to say that there was water for most of the mall.
So I cannot relate, but I get this like eerie feeling of like this muted sound and your heartbeat and your breath just like taking over. When you walked outside, you went from a semi-dark building to going outside 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Was it still dark and gloomy at that point?
I know. No, it was sunny. It was the most sunny September day.
Wow.
The sky was so blue. There was not one cloud in the sky. Not one. I mean, it was a beautiful day. It was absolutely beautiful. And then I think that was the thing that was like, that's why when I looked back and I saw the fire coming out of both sides of the building, I was like, well, that's not good. I was like, both sides of the building? I mean, like I said, I had seen fires before and I was like, okay, I knew I had to get out of the city. And so where Cortlandt Street is, there's a Trinity Church. And so I walked and then I got to Broadway and then I just walked up Broadway. And there were people, long lines for the payphones. There were people walking towards the towers. And I was like, what are they doing? But I was crying. I was trying to get out of there. I was trying to call my mom, trying to call my dad. I mean, the cell phones weren't working. The only things that were working were pagers or Blackberries at that time. Yeah. They were really big.
This may be a silly question, but here you are walking away from this building that's caught on fire, that also has 2 planes sticking out of it. That hopefully at this point, it's been blocked off. It hadn't even been blocked off.
No, nothing. No. And because the city is so dense, this lady came up to me, this redhead, she came up to me. She goes, are you okay? And I was like, and then she was like, can I walk with you? And I was like, okay. And so she held my arm while I was going up Broadway. And she goes like, well, do you want to call your mom and wait in the payphone? I was like, no, I don't want to be in line. And then we get to Broadway and Canal. Even Broadway and Canal, people did not know what was happening.
Really?
No one knew because it's so dense, you couldn't see.
But you couldn't hear it?
No, because the city's loud. Like there was nothing. There wasn't the only. Like I said, I might have heard a sound when the plane first hit I don't remember hearing a sound. I just remember hearing something hit the building and then the shaking and then, of course, the smoke and stuff. But there was no real sound. And so Broadway and Canal, people didn't know what was happening. And thank goodness she helped me get into a cab. And this nice man, Anthony, he shared the cab with me. But it wasn't even till, so we're going west. Yeah, we're going west on Canal. We get to church in Canal. There's a red light. And I'm like, okay, come on, let's go. You know, I'm like yelling at the cab driver.
Does the cab driver know what's going on, or is this
No.
is just a regular day for him?
Regular day for him. The light turns green. I'm like, let's go, you know, because I'm freaked out. And then all of a sudden, all these people come and they almost get ran over by all the cars. And there's this white plume behind them. And then everyone is like trying to open car doors or trying to open up the stores. I mean, people are running like crazy. I mean, it was like literally like a movie. It was like a movie. And he locked the doors. He was like, because I was going to open it. And he was like, I'm not taking any more passengers. And I was like, okay. And it wasn't until we got to Avenue of the Americas, which is 6th Ave. We take a right, we go north, and Anthony and I, we turn around and we see only one tower standing.
So it had fallen, and that's what got the attention of people.
And we were like, the people. And we just yelled and fell apart. Because we knew, we were like, there's no way all those people got out.
Right.
There's no way.
And those are the same people you walked past or ran past that were waiting.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Soft, chewy, sour. The gummy experience that you've been searching for. New from Sour Punch.
Welcome back, everybody, to Embracing the Journey podcast. What emotion are you feeling currently?
Tightness, fear of what's happening next. Yeah, I mean, I'm back in that cab. And even though we know it as September 11th and that one day of war, afterwards, there was just a lot happening. So we were in a state of war. It wasn't just one day of war. I mean, now people just think about it September 11th, but 2 days after, your phone still wasn't working. The city, you had military everywhere. You had fighter jets.
Because they grounded all the flights in America. So I would love to know more about this. What was life after 9/11? Mm-hmm. What was that like for the next few months?
Oh my God. It was not knowing if we'd be attacked again, not knowing how war would look like in a city. I lived in the Bronx, and so my apartment was on top of the Major Deegan. And I remember one time fighter jets coming over me, and I was so afraid that I had my backpack ready. Like I had a backpack, I'd grab it, I'd run down the steps, get out of the building, and I would wait and make sure, okay, is everything okay? Are we getting bombed or what's happening? And I remember at that moment realizing, oh my goodness, I'm on top of the Major Deegan. Like this is a strategic point where someone could bomb and make sure there's no traffic coming in and out of Manhattan. I mean, that's where my mind was. It was like trying to think of what an enemy would do and making sure, how am I going to be safe? So yeah, it was, we had anthrax attacks. People still couldn't communicate. So we were like on lockdown, really. People couldn't travel. There's a Broadway bridge that connects Manhattan from the Bronx, and that was like a parking lot because that was the only way people could get in and out.
Wow. At all hours of the night.
It was busy all hours of the night. Everyone was trying to get out.
So do you remember in school there were options to be able to donate? What did that look like in New York as you were living there with these mass amount of donations coming in from different parts of the world? Did that help you guys?
Not me. I mean, I remember them saying, go to the FEMA camps, and the FEMA camps were along the West Side Highway of Manhattan. So I had to get on a train, which I had not done, and get down to like, I don't know, 60th, 50th Street around there. I was so afraid. I don't even know how I did that, but I did. Because my family was like, go, they can help you. I was like, okay. So I went, and when I got there, I remember explaining to the lady that where I worked and how I got out. And I remember her turning white in front of me, and then her saying, hold on. And then she ran and got this guy, and then they came, and then they were like just there trying to walk me through this whole process, because there was like different areas doing different things, right? And so they had all this paperwork, and they said, well, at the end they said, we need a letter from a therapist saying you have PTSD for Salvation Army to help you.
Freeze real quick. Did they know that you were in the building?
Yes.
And they needed you to have proof that this traumatic event that recently had taken place caused PTSD for you to get aid?
Yeah.
What world does that make sense in?
I know. It was awful. And then what worst, I had a therapist. So I went to go see her. But like, mind you, I'm not working. Like, I remember talking with her, telling her everything that happened. And she says to me, she goes, you're fine. You don't have PTSD. You're very clear. And I was like, what? And I was like, but I need this letter so that I can get help, because I'm not working and I'm afraid to even she was in Midtown Manhattan, which was crazy. I remember having to go up into her office. I was so afraid. And then I had to give her the last bit of my money, like $100 check to her for the session. So I didn't get the letter. And I'm like now giving her the last bit of money that I have for her not even writing this letter. Mm. And I remember that. And I was like, oh my God. So I was so frustrated. I was frustrated at all the different instructions people would give you. They're like, oh yeah, you can file for unemployment. And then later they're like, oh no, you can't file for unemployment. And I was like, look, I know English. I know what I heard I know what I read, and I had to fight unemployment in New York just because they were going to charge me all the money that they had given me. They were going to charge me. I had to take them to court, like administrative court. It was a mess.
What?
Yeah, the whole thing was a huge mess. And so, no, I never got anything.
This is stuff that we never heard about. When you're up at any hour of the night during this time, donate. There were actually options to be able to send a text with money attached to your account to send out. And what you're saying is, maybe you're not saying this. This is what I'm hearing, is it was near impossible to get this. Now, I can imagine, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that there's thousands of people in these FEMA camps with all different situations. Maybe people were taking advantage of it. Maybe people were trying to survive by it. Maybe people had nowhere else to go, and this is home for them for the next situation. But you walk into this place and you're requesting help in a country that you live in, a country that you pay taxes in a city that you've recently moved into. And they're turning you away, telling you to go out here and bring back proof. Annabelle, respectfully, that would be enough for some very strong individuals to be done, to be completely done. Why did you choose to continue to fight when literally death looked you in the face and then you got out of that? The odds were actually in real life against you to get the necessary help. You got through that. You lived in a building on where you thought that if you were in a space of being a terrorist, this would be a place that you would attack, and you lived through that. What is it about you that is resilient? Like, why? It would make sense if you gave up. Nobody would sit there and be like, oh, she's a quitter. They'd be like, dude, I understand. What is it about you that looks death in the face and continues to excel in life?
Next week on the Embracing the Journey podcast.
I thought I had my destiny in my hands. I'm on Wall Street. I'm modeling. I'm B-girling. And I was like, yes, I'm doing everything in my life right now. And nope.
What is it about you that looks death in the face and continues to excel in life?
Change like that, it almost takes everything away from you, and you only have those unseen things. You only have your integrity. You only have a smile to offer someone.
Why did you hold this story in of you surviving 9/11 for so long?
2018, and I still can't tell my story. And that's when I realized, like, I got to heal this. I got to find a way. And that's really why I do the work I do, why I storytell as a healing practice. I hope more people share their story as well.